Day one, guys, and someone has already been evicted from the Big Brother house. That is right. Somebody has gone home immediately, and they're not in some secret house. They are active on Twitter, which means that they are definitely gone from the house, which is a huge win for the series. But anyway, we are going to be getting into the episode, so make sure to stick around. I've got lots to talk about from the first 2 days in the house, the first night, and then the second day when the new arrivals came in, guys. Super exciting. So make sure you stick around. But let's get going because we have got lots to talk about. So I want to start with the whole evil eye situation. Evil eye, I was sort of like, oh, okay, this whole season is themed off of eyes, and okay, sure, we're giving them the evil eyes. They're gonna have to go into a room, and the twist is that they had to decide amongst themselves who was going to leave. I thought it was going to be more of a someone has to offer themselves up to go home, but no, it was more of a we're going to vote somebody out kind of situation, and I kind of appreciated that. It was a lot more dramatic than I was expecting. I mean, at the end of the day, it's about as dramatic as you can get with this kind of eviction on night one. It's not like it's 5 weeks down the line, everybody in that room hates each other, and it really is just a case of who is going to be going home. But I did like the fact that they kind of sat there and they gave their reasons why they should stay, what they would do with the money. I have to say, I was a little bit disappointed with sort of Emily being like, oh yeah, I'm just here for the experience, guys. I'm just here for the experience. And I'm like, everyone's here for the experience. The other guys said that they were here for the experience, but like, they also had other things going for them. Do you know what I mean? Like, Sam wants to increase like awareness of people like him and things like that, and I was like, okay, cool, this guy's chill. Caroline wants to win the money in order to quit her job so she can spend as much time with her parents while they're still alive. I was like, this woman is awesome. I love her. She's incredible. You want to take the girls to Bali or Bucky or something like that, and I was a bit like, oh, okay, you just want to go on holiday with the money. That's a bit disappointing. It's not really a profound reason for wanting to win the money, do you know what I mean? Like, I didn't feel like Sam particularly had a profound reason either. But, you know, when you're just like, I like Sam, so I'm gonna give her the benefit of the doubt, and I don't like Emily, so anything that I find about her, I'm gonna pick apart. I'm gonna be like, whatever. But anyway, it is what it is. The first part of the episode was definitely dramatic. It was definitely tense. They were all watching in the house on the camera, on the big screen. So I thought that there was an element of drama there, which was good. So yeah, on the whole, very, very good. Now, they each had to get their golden balls out, which, listen, naughty, don't even. And then they had to vote for who they wanted to evict. And obviously, Caroline voted for Emily, Emily voted for Caroline, and I was sitting there going, please, Sam, choose the right person, please. Do not get rid of Caroline, because if you get rid of Caroline, I'm going to be angry. I'm going to be so angry indeed. But no, he picked Emily, and Emily is the first person evicted from the Big Brother house. I genuinely cannot believe it. I didn't expect it. But you know what? I kind of have to rate it at the end of the day. I do have to rate it. So, yes, she is gone. We are safe from her. We, unfortunately, are going to be replacing her with an even worse version of her. But you know what? It is what it is. It is what it is. We just have to celebrate the fact that we got a victory as the audience. Now, I'm not going to say that Cameron is boring, because that would be very, very rude. What I am going to say is he spent the entire first episode of this show talking about farming and talking about chickens and talking about all sorts of things. And it got to the point where I was like, oh, okay, we're back on Cameron. Oh, he's still talking about farming. Okay, fabulous. And I feel like there's an element of intrigue when it comes to talking about this, because it's something that I don't think gets spoken about on this kind of platform. You hear a lot of negative press around it with the whole farming protests and things like that. Jeremy Clarkson pretending to be one of the people, do you know what I mean? But equally, I do feel like Cameron comes at it from a very personal point of view. It's his grandfather's farm. His grandfather is not probably in the best shape, is probably ill, and that means that when that gets passed down, there's an incredibly hefty tax on that, and they could potentially lose some of the farm that's been in the family for generations. So I do understand the sort of the upset that comes from that situation, and it was interesting to hear about it for like the first couple of minutes. But when it's every single clip that I saw from Cameron in that episode, I was a little bit like, bestie, please stop talking. Like, you don't actually need to keep talking about farms. It's fine. We get it. You're a farmer. It's all good. But you know what? He seems sweet. He seems cuddly. He seems lovely. He seems like he's going to be a warm presence in the house once he opens up to people. And I even saw that in the second episode from Tuesday night, that he definitely is starting to open up to people. He's starting to get involved in conversations he wouldn't necessarily be involved with in the outside world. So from that point of view, I feel like the Big Brother experience is very, very handy for these people. So another person that I wanted to shine a light on was Elsa. Elsa is fascinating in a really weird way. She came into the house and I was a bit like, oh, bit boring, nothing really much to say. But when she opens her mouth, craziness flies out. Like, genuinely crazy stuff flies out. She's already seen dead people in the house, which I'm thinking, first of all, who's died in this house? I'm concerned now. Are they going to be digging up the tarmac and there's going to be a dead body under there? I'm a little bit concerned. But anyway, she also spoke about how before she went and did TikTok, and she, by the way, she said that she's not got a very big following, but I'm fairly certain she has a very big following. She basically said something along the lines of, oh yeah, I wanted to be like an armed police officer. And I was sitting there going, cannot see you as an armed police officer, bestie. I really cannot. I just don't see it. Like, all power to you, but I just don't see it. And then she said, people think that I'm a typical blonde, but I'm not. Sorry, I apologise. The quote was, I'm a typical blonde, but I'm not. Which is a juxtaposition, is it not? You can't be a typical blonde and not be a typical blonde. You're one or the other. Did you know what I mean? Like, yeah, I'm very confused, Elsa. I don't know what's understand. Huh? I'm very confused right now. But either way, there was a hilarious comment by her where she was talking about how devils can impregnate you during your sleep. And she basically said that, yeah, that happened to me once. Like, I have had sex with a demon. And I was like, huh? What are we actually talking about here? I'm so confused. Like, what? There are some people that get put on this show and I sit there and I think, oh, now I understand why you got put on this show, because there's 100% a chance that she sat in her audition video and talked about being impregnated by a demon. And honestly, I would have probably got her on the show as well, because I'd have been like, I want to hear all about these demons. I want to know what's going on. So it's day 2 now, and a lot of interesting things happened because we have the arrival of 4 new housemates. Do you remember in the last episode when I said, oh yeah, there's only 12. They gotta boost it up somehow. There's got to be more going on. There's 7 weeks. They surely haven't got that many people to fill. Well, they do now, because they've introduced 4 new people. Now, Faishola is the first one. Richard, Cameron B. It's going to be confusing having 2 cameras in the house. And George. We're going to come to George and Richard in a segment later on, because I have a lot to say about them. But for Faishola and also Cameron B., they seem lovely. I'm excited to have them in the house. They bring a good positive energy in. And also it's nice to have sort of a cheeky chappy that isn't out to just flirt with the girls. Because the girls, sorry, that isn't just there to flirt with the girls. And Faishola, I feel like she's going to be very, very interesting. I hope I'm saying her name right. I did listen to the way she said it, and that was last night, and I had just got back from the Mayhem Ball, so I was a little bit tired. But hopefully I'm saying that right. But either way, they seem lovely. They seem great. Richard also seems great. George, well, I'll get to him in a little bit. Now, I always find that Big Brother is an incredible platform to talk about societal issues and things that genuinely impact people on a day-to-day basis. And there were 2 conversations that I want to highlight in that situation. Zella and Sam had a conversation about how Zella transitioned from being a woman to a man, and I found the incredible conversation that they had very powerful. It was so wonderful to hear how he's found his strength in becoming a man and how he didn't feel right in his previous body. And I completely understand that. I feel like we have, as a society, demonized trans people in a way that is so horrendous and is so backwards to the way it was 20 years ago. I mean, think about it. In 2000 and 2004, I want to say, a trans woman won Big Brother. Okay, that's how far we've regressed, that we are now facing a moment where we could potentially be voting out a trans man like first, which is crazy. Well, second technically, because Emily was first. But either way, I just feel like conversations like this are so helpful to have from people with lived experiences, rather than a vocal minority who just have no experience with that and feel like this is some kind of a threat on their rights, when it isn't in the slightest. All you're doing is threatening the rights of others. So an incredibly important conversation. And then this was followed by a conversation with Zella, Faishola, and Cameron, OG Cameron this is. And I found this conversation incredibly powerful as well, because Faishola was talking about how she is a woman who is bald, and therefore she gets a lot of hate from people who think that she's a man pretending to be a woman. And it's incredibly harmful. They were talking about how women fighting for women's rights are actually damaging other women's rights who don't fit into their idea of femininity. And I, again, agree with that. It's crazy how backwards we've come. And it's important to have these conversations on national television, especially in the UK, where a lot of this right-wing hatred towards trans people is beginning to pick up momentum. And it's important to educate people on this kind of platform by having these kind of conversations. Anyway, I'm going to put my soapbox away because I found those conversations very interesting, and I just thought I would talk about them because they were definitely some of the most interesting conversations of the night. So let's talk about George. George is going to be frustrating to watch, I feel like. First of all, he's a little boy that loves berries and cream. And if you get the reference, you know what I'm talking about. Second of all, he bangs on about how his dress sense is incredible, but he does look like Rumpelstiltskin from the Shrek movie. So there is that. Also, I just find the way he talks to people to be incredibly dismissive and like, oh, I don't care about you. I don't care about you that much. I don't care about your experiences. It just feels incredibly rude and disrespectful. Like Cameron, OG Cameron was just eating some breakfast, right? He was just having some biscuits. That was all he was doing, just having some biscuits for breakfast. And George was like, oh, you don't want to eat that shit. That shit's so bad for you. Why would you do that? And was just basically shaming him for eating biscuits for breakfast. I just find that so just unconscionable. When you've come into the house late, this is your first interaction with a lot of people, and you're already starting on a negative foot. He was very dismissive to Caroline at the start when she was trying to introduce herself to him. And I just found the whole thing to be incredibly uncomfortable. I don't particularly like him. It seems like his views are incredibly narrow-minded. He was like, oh, I'm incredibly right-wing, but there are also left-wing ideologies I have. Like, I'm also a vegetarian. And I was like, being a vegetarian doesn't mean you're left-wing. That doesn't. No. I'm sorry. I'm not having that. I'm not having that. Thank you very much. So yeah, I don't know how to feel about him. Uncomfortable is the word I would use. I just don't like him that much. I'll be 100% honest. Yeah, just not a bit of me, if I'm honest. Richard, on the other hand, Richard is a gem. Richard is a absolute gemstone. First of all, he has been celibate his entire life. He's never had a relationship. He's never been with anyone. The amount of self-control he must have is absolutely mental, but it just endears him a little bit more. He's a person that hasn't had these experiences, isn't sullied by like meaningless sex and things like that. He's just a pure-hearted guy. He also spoke about how he did a lot of work in, oh, I've forgotten the name of the country. Oh god, that's bad of me. I can't remember. I think it was Malaysia, I want to say. And he went over there for work a lot, and there was a guy who worked in a hotel, and he went over a lot and made friends with this guy, and the guy would come to him for advice, and he would go and give advice to this guy, and it got to the point where they very much had like a father-son dynamic, and he ended up adopting this guy. This guy is 33 years old, okay? He's a refugee from Myanmar, which is mental, but Richard just seems like such a pure-hearted, genuine, kind soul that I'm just going to find him fascinating to watch on this show. He just seems so wonderful. And I feel like it will be interesting to see, will he break at one point? Will he continue being this kind-hearted person? Like, I just find him, he's also 60, just incredibly fascinating to watch. Genuinely so grateful to have him on the show. It's nice to have older contestants with lived experiences, because who else in the house can say that they've adopted a 33-year-old? Nobody. Because most people are under the age of 33. So it's ridiculous. Anyway, I find him absolutely lovely. I think he's a wonderful soul, and he is just one of the best parts of it for me at the moment, and I do genuinely love him for that. So there is a pair in the house that I'm finding very, very entertaining to watch. It started on launch night and it's kind of going through from there. We saw a couple of moments in episode 2 with them. But Gany and Caroline, they seem to be getting along like a house on fire. I mean, in the first episode, Caroline was like, get me to do some Indian dancing. And they were all like, and he was like, that is not Indian dancing. Let me just tell you right now. And then he was popping some hips and she was joining in popping the hips. And I was like, this is such a great vibe. This is such a good vibe between the two of them. And then Gany and Caroline were having like a little meditation session, and it was so cute just seeing them giggling and laughing. And then Cameron came in, OG Cameron that is, and I have to say, he was like, oh yeah, I'll join in. And then they just pranked him and it was brilliant. And then George came in and ruined the fun, and I was like, oh, okay, brilliant, party pooper, okay. But either way, Gany and Caroline, I feel like that's going to be a duo that's really, really underrated in the house. And I just wanted to point it out straight away. I really, really find them like a lovely, lovely group of people. So yeah, on the whole, I really like those two. So finally, the big twist of the episode was that the 4 new housemates got to choose one person to give a killer nomination to. Sorry, an evil eye to, which will mean that they will face eviction on Friday. Now, there are some people in the house that I'm not gelling with really, like Tate and Marcus, but we knew that anyway. So when George immediately brought up the fact that they should nominate Zella, I was like, He did also bring up Nancy and Elsa, I'm fairly certain. And again, I was a little bit like, okay, interesting. I wanted to know what the rationale behind Zella was, but I'm choosing to take it as Zella just didn't put in as much effort as some other people to get to know them that day, rather than it being some kind of an attack of any kind of way. But yeah, you can never be too certain with people in the house, do you know what I mean? We've already had last year's Big Brother contestant Nathan, Big Brother flop contestant may I add, came 6th place, or did he come 5th place? I think he came 5th place actually. But either way, he has already posted some nasty hate speech online about Zella, and I just find that this week is obviously vote to save, so hopefully we'll be able to vote Zella, but I'm hoping that we won't lose another icon in the process. So it's going to be a tough one. But either way, yeah, that is the killer nomination, and that is pretty much the episode. So thank you guys for watching. I hope you guys have enjoyed. We'll be back in a couple of days for the next episode. Might be a little bit longer. It might be over the weekend, actually, because I am away for a couple of days. So I'll try and get out the videos as best I can when I can. But until then, make sure to keep on ranting and make sure to enjoy your life and have a good time. But anyway, keep on ranting. See you guys later. Bye now. See ya.